Good morning. We're here today to provide an update on the event that occurred yesterday in East Charlotte, one that resulted in the loss of life for 4 law enforcement officers and left 4 additional officers with gunshot wound injuries. Words simply cannot express the impact of this event to the law enforcement and the first responder community. Before our speakers come to share with you today, I want to take just a moment to recap the events of the last nearly 24 hours. On Monday, April 29th, 2024, members of the United States Marshals Fugitive Task Force were attempting to serve an active felony warrant on a male in a home in the 5000 block of Galloway Drive. During the encounter, the male discharged a firearm, striking multiple officers. These officers requested immediate assistance. As additional officers responded to help, the gunfire continued and more officers were struck. The male suspect exited the residence with a firearm and was shot by law enforcement officers in the front yard of the residence. In total, 8 law enforcement officers were struck by gunfire. These officers were rushed to area hospitals. 3 of the 4 injured task force officers were pronounced deceased at the hospital. On behalf of the entire Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, our condolences go out to the Department of Adult Corrections and the United States Marshal Service. We grieve with you, and our prayers are with you. One of the 4 injured CMPD officers, Officer Joshua Iyer, a 6-year veteran of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, fought for his life for several hours before succumbing to his injuries yesterday evening. A law enforcement procession escorted Joshua to the medical examiner's office late last night. The investigation into this incident remains active and is being led by the CMPD Homicide Unit. Many details remain uncertain at this point. Our speakers this morning include Chief of Police, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, Johnny Jennings, Director of the United States Marshal Service, the Honorable Ronald Davis, Governor of the great state of North Carolina, the Honorable Roy Cooper, Attorney General of the great state of North Carolina, the Honorable Josh Stein, the Mayor of the City of Charlotte, Mayor Vi Lyles. We will take questions at the end of all of the speakers, so please hold them until then. First up, Chief Jennings.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Obviously the past nearly 24 hours have been heavy on the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, the Marshal Service, but heavy on our community and heavy on our country. We shared yesterday that there were a total of 8 officers shot while performing their duties yesterday to simply serve a warrant. Unfortunately, 4 of those officers succumbed to their injuries. I want to recognize all of those officers. The North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections, Samuel Pelosi. North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections, William Alden Elliott. CMPD Officer Joshua Iyer. And Deputy United States Marshal Thomas Weeks. Also, I mentioned the other officers that were injured and shot while performing their duties as well. I want to give an update on those officers and their names and how they're doing. Officer Chris Tolley is an 18-year veteran of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department and recruit class 149. He underwent surgery last night. He's still recovering in the hospital, but he is in stable condition. Officer Mike Giglio, a 3-year-old CMPD veteran and member of the recruit class 188. He was treated with a gunshot wound injury at the hospital and released yesterday. Officer Jack Blowers has been with CMPD for 1 year and a member of the recruit class 194. He was also treated with gunshot wound injuries and released yesterday. Officer Joshua Campbell, who was not shot but been with CMPD since 2020, a member of recruit class 186. He was treated for a broken foot and he was discharged this morning. I can't tell you how much I'm grateful for these officers and their heroic act. We saw what I mentioned yesterday, officers going into the line of fire to save their brothers in blue who have gone down in the act of trying to keep our community safe. To me, that's truly heroic when you hear the gunshots and the rapid fire and they're running directly into it because they know that there are people that need help and they risk their own lives to do that. As I mentioned also, this is continuing to be an active and ongoing investigation. There's going to be some answers that aren't going to be able to be given, some questions that will linger at least for until we are able to get this investigation a little bit more complete. But I will tell you that there are, we talk about the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force. There are 16 agencies that are involved in that task force. CMPD is one of those agencies. We currently have a sergeant assigned to that task force who was on the scene as well. Our investigators have worked through the night. The house is still being processed. You have to understand the amount of evidence that's going to be collected, probably well over 100 rounds of gunfire or of projectiles and casings that will be collected. But what I will say is that we did recover so far on the scene an AR-15 rifle, a 40 caliber handgun, and also additional magazines and ammo that goes both with the AR-14 and the 40 caliber handgun. We do know that the suspect that was shot and killed was the individual that was that the warrant was for and was going to be arrested for possession of firearm by a convicted felon. And we are still working through additional parts of that investigation. 2 females that were inside the residence that I mentioned yesterday who came out eventually, they are fully cooperating with the investigation. They have been talked to by the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department homicide detectives, and we are not looking or interested in any additional suspects or any persons of interest. We feel like we have everyone involved that was at the house that we need to speak with. Also, indication right now is that 12 CMPD officers fired their service weapon during this incident. All 12 of those officers have been placed on administrative leave and will also continue to be investigated as far as interviews, both internally and within the criminal and internal investigation, which is standard for an officer-involved shooting. So this is certainly a tragedy that's going to impact, I would say, our country for a very long time. It's a scar on Charlotte, but a scar that won't heal. We're a resilient profession and a resilient city, and we will certainly get through this. But it will take time, and it will take support from all of our community as our officers continue to keep our community safe even through this tragedy. So thank you, and I'll turn it over back to Lieutenant Petrus.
Thank you, Chief. Our next speaker is the Director of the United States Marshal Service, and that's Director Ron Davis.
Good morning, and thank you, excuse me, for coming. I don't think words can describe the amount of pain that the Marshal Service and all of its members, the court family, law enforcement in general, this community and communities around the country are feeling with such a loss. The Chief mentioned for the first time we were releasing the name of Deputy Weeks. Let me tell you something about this hero. Thomas Weeks is a Deputy United States Marshal. He was 48 years old. He is survived by his wife, Kelly, and has 4 children. He was transferred to this district, the Western District of North Carolina, in 2018. So he served 6 years here, although he's been with the agency for some 13 years. We did send out a release with more information along with the photo for you. And I want to make sure that people remember him and the other 3 officers that have perished in this incident. He was assigned to, as I mentioned, the Western District of North Carolina, but he was also assigned to our Fugitive Task Force. And let me just say something quickly about the task force to understand the context in which they operate. As was mentioned, there are over 16 agencies in the task force that covers North Carolina. We have 56 district task forces, 8 regional task forces around the country, and it is an example of what we've seen yesterday of how local, state, and federal law enforcement come together, share resources, make sure that the force multiplier, removing those violent and most dangerous from our community and the safety of our community. And that's what happened yesterday. And so we'll give you, in the future, give you more information about the task force, but Deputy Weeks was serving on that task force, as do hundreds, if not thousands, of deputies and officers around the country every day. Even right now as we speak, there are thousands of deputies and task force officers serving our communities, trying to bring to justice those that are responsible for some of the most heinous crimes in our society. And I want you to just pause a moment and please offer your thoughts and prayers and think about them and their families and everybody that suffered yesterday. We didn't just have a bad day for the community. This is a loss for the entire country. I have been in conversations with the Attorney General of the United States as well as the Deputy Attorney General of the United States to make sure we offer all resources and support necessary to the police department as they continue, and to our law enforcement partners. And I want to personally thank all the law enforcement officers from the agency that responded. As more and more comes out about this incident, not only will you see how brave they were, you will see examples of that courage and bravery. Let there be no mistake, they represent the best of us. They are truly America's finest, and it's just an honor to serve with them. I will meet with the family later today, a meeting that no leader, director, or police chief ever wants to have. Losing a deputy, using task force officers, is like losing a family member, because quite frankly, they are family members. I don't have many words at this time other than say that inside my agency that I'm going to ask the men and women of the United States Marshal Service to continue their steadfast commitment to the American people, to continue the outstanding job that you do, and know and witness this amount of support you have. This community, the Charlotte-Mecklenburg community, has been tremendous. Thank you very much for that. It is not going unnoticed, and I think the entire nation will see that, and we are appreciative for that. Thank you.
Mr. Director, thank you. Next speaker is Governor, State of North Carolina, Governor Roy Cooper. Governor.
Thank you, Lieutenant, Chief, Director, Attorney General, Mayor, fellow North Carolinians. I'm also joined here today with our Secretary of the Department of Public Safety, Eddie Buffalo, and our Secretary of the Department of Adult Correction, Todd Ishii. Yesterday, 8 families had to be told that their loved one had been shot in the line of duty. It was news they hoped would never come. Tragically, 4 of those families have made the ultimate sacrifice. Yesterday, North Carolina and this country lost 4 heroes and saw 4 other heroes wounded. For these members of this U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force and the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police on patrol who responded so quickly and so bravely when help was needed, dangerous assignments are part of the job, but they step up and do it anyway to protect our communities and protect our families. The investigation into this tragic, brutal, deadly attack will result in more answers that we don't know today. And I expect it to find those answers and to help bring to justice people for these needless deaths of these brave officers. We can never, ever fill the void that they leave behind, and we can never fully thank them for what they do to keep us safe. But today, we can remember them and honor their lives, help their families, and support their fellow officers. Among those killed were 4 public servants